11 years old when my father gave me the rule that ruined my life. Never open the red door. He said it so calmly. That night almost gently, not angry, not threatening. Which somehow made it worse. We had just moved into Blackthorn House after my mother died. The place stood alone at the edge of a dying forest, where even birds seemed afraid to land. The mansion was ancient, covered in ivy and shadows, with long, silent hallways that groaned at night like the house itself was breathing. And at the very end of the third-floor corridor was the red door, dark crimson paint, old brass handle, no lock, no windows, just a single red door that seemed completely wrong compared to the rest of the house. The first night we arrived, my father knelt beside me and placed both hands on my shoulders. You can go anywhere in this house. He whispered, anywhere, except there. I remember staring at the door behind him, why something strange passed through his face. Then fear, real fear. Because some things should stay closed, that was all he said, and for the next 17 years I obeyed him, mostly because my father was not a man people disobeyed. After my mother's death, something inside him changed. He became colder, quieter, like part of him had been buried with her. He stopped laughing, stopped inviting people over, stopped sleeping at night. Sometimes I'd hear him walking the halls at 3 a.m., always near the red door, sometimes whispering, sometimes crying, once begging. I was 14, the first time I heard the knocking, 3 soft knocks from the other side. I froze in bed instantly. Knock, 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 not loud, not violent, just patient, human. I crept into the hallway, heart pounding so hard I thought it would wake the house. Moonlight stretched across the corridor like pale water. And there, it was, the red door, perfectly still. Then knock, knock, knock from inside. I nearly screamed. Daniel, my father's voice, exploded behind me. I spun around violently. He stood at the end of the hallway, wearing his dark robe, staring at me with an expression I had never seen before. Not anger, terror. Go back to your room, he whispered. But someone's in there, Go. The way he shouted made the entire hallway shake. I ran. And the next morning the red door was gone, not physically, but hidden. A massive bookshelf now covered the entire wall where it had been. My father acted like nothing happened. And I learned something important that year in Blackthorn House. We pretended not to notice impossible things. At 19, I left for university and stayed away as long as possible. Distance made the house feel like a nightmare fading after sleep. I built a life, friends, work, relationships. But every October my father called me home, always the same date, October 14th, always for one night only. And every year he gave the same warning before I left again. Never open the red door, even after the bookshelf appeared. He still said it, which meant one horrifying thing. The door was still there, hidden, waiting. When I turned 28, my father died, heart attack. At least that's what the doctors called it. But when I saw the body at the funeral home, something felt wrong immediately. His fingernails were torn apart, as if he'd been clawing at something before death. And there were deep bruises around both wrists, like someone had been holding him down. The funeral lasted 2 days. Rain poured the entire time. By the third night, I was alone, inside Blackthorn House again, for the first time in years. And that house remembered me. Every floorboard creaked like footsteps, following mine. Pipes groaned behind the walls. Wind whispered through the ceilings. Then, at exactly 3:14 a.m., I heard it again. Knock, knock, knock. My blood turned to ice. The sound came from upstairs, from behind the hidden door. I should've left, I know that now, but grief changes people, and fear, mixed with curiosity, becomes something dangerous. So I climbed the stairs. The hallway felt colder than the rest of the house. My breath fogged faintly in the darkness. The bookshelf still stood against the wall. Then another knock came directly behind it, slow, Patient waiting, my hands trembled as I pulled books aside desperately. The shelf moved easier than expected, scraping across the floor, just enough to reveal the red door exactly. As I remembered, the crimson paint looked newer, somehow wet almost. And for the first time I noticed something written faintly across the wood, DONT. Let her out. Every hair on my body stood upright. Then a woman's voice spoke softly from inside Daniel. I stumbled backward instantly. The voice was weak, fragile, human. How do you know my name? I whispered. Soft crying answered me. Oh God, you sound just like him. My heart stopped him. My father. Who are you? Several seconds passed before she answered then. I am your mother. I wish I could tell you. I walked away. I didn't, because deep down part of me had never accepted my mother's death. I barely remembered her funeral, only closed curtains. And my father drinking beside a fireplace afterward. No body, no goodbye, just disappearance. Yurei lying, I whispered. No, her voice cracked painfully. Your father locked me in here. That's impossible. You were told I died. Because he was afraid of what I should have asked. That immediately instead I reached for the handle. The metal felt ice cold. Daniel, she whispered urgently, please. And against every instinct I had left, I opened the red door. Inside was not a room, it was a staircase descending deep underground. The smell hit first, rot, moisture, something ancient. A single dim light bulb flickered below. Then I saw her, an elderly woman, sitting alone in a chair at the bottom of the stairs, thin, pale, trembling, her eyes filled with tears. When she saw me, you grew up, she whispered. I couldn't breathe. She looked exactly like my mother, older, broken, but unmistakably. Her 20 years vanished from my mind. Instantly, every memory came flooding back at once. Her perfume, her smile, the lullabies she sang during thunderstorms. Mom, she collapsed into tears. And I believed her. God help me, I believed her. For 3 days. I kept her hidden. I brought food, water, blankets. She told me terrible things about my father, how controlling he became, how paranoid, how he accused her of wanting to leave. He said I was dangerous. She whispered one night, dangerous. How she looked away, that's what I could never make him understand. I didn't choose what I am. Coldness spread through my stomach. What does that mean? Before she could answer, the knocking started again. But this time it came from upstairs. 3 knocks at the front door at 3:14 a.m. My mother's face turned white instantly. He found us. What he never leaves the house after death. The lights suddenly went out. Darkness swallowed everything. Then I heard footsteps above us, slow, heavy, dragging. Impossible. My father was dead. But I knew those footsteps. Every child knows the sound of their parent walking through the house. Step, drag, step, drag. Coming closer, my mother grabbed my arm painfully hard. You opened the door, she whispered in terror. Mom, what's happening? Tears streamed down her face. That wasn't a rule. The footsteps stopped directly above us. Then came my father's voice from the darkness upstairs. Daniel, my entire body locked with fear. You shouldn't have let her out. The basement door upstairs slowly creaked open. Then another voice spoke beside me, my mother's voice. Except now it sounded different, deeper, hungry. You always loved him more than me. I turned slowly toward her, and my blood froze. Her smile had stretched impossibly wide, too wide for a human face. Bones cracked softly beneath her skin. As she stood, her eyes no longer looked human, they looked black, empty. Ancient, you have his eyes, she whispered lovingly. Then the lights flickered back on for half a second, and I finally saw the walls around us covered in scratches, thousands of them, and written over every inch in my father's handwriting were the same words repeated again and again. She is not your mother. The bulb exploded. Darkness returned. Something moved beside me impossibly fast. I ran. I don't even remember climbing the stairs. I only remember hearing her Laughter behind me echoing through the basement like an animal learning how to imitate human joy. I slammed the red door shut, just as something crashed against it from the other side. The entire house shook violently, then silence, complete silence, until my father's voice whispered behind me one final time, "You understand now." I turned. But the hallway was empty. Police searched Blackthorn House the next morning. After neighbors reported screams, they found the hidden basement. But there was no woman inside, no body. No sign anyone had lived there, only the scratched walls and one photograph, a picture of me as a child, standing beside my father, while a tall, dark figure watched from the upstairs hallway behind us, smiling. The police blamed grief, hallucinations, trauma. Maybe. They're right, maybe. Opening the red door broke my mind. But 3 months later, I sold Blackthorn House and moved across the country, and last week, at exactly 3:14 a.m., someone knocked on my apartment door. 3 soft knocks. Patient, human. Then, a woman's voice whispered from the hallway, "Daniel, I am still your mother."